Ethan Moreau was the type of millionaire no one dared question. With investments in 5 countries, 3 luxury cars, and a corner office made of glass, his world ran on power and precision. People admired his brilliance but feared his silence. He never wasted words or minutes until a quiet girl named Cora began bringing him coffee. She was a new hire at the firm, shy, careful, and almost invisible. She never looked him in the eye, only whispered good morning and disappeared, like a shadow. But one afternoon, he noticed her hands shaking as she handed him a file, and for some reason, that tremble stayed in his mind all day. Over the next few weeks, he started noticing her more. The way she always wore cardigans, even in warm weather. How she stayed late organizing files no one asked her to. She never joined office lunches or celebrations. Some mocked her behind her back, calling her the ghost girl. But Ethan didn't laugh. Something about her solitude unnerved him. She was either hiding something, or had been deeply hurt. His curiosity grew heavier each day, until it started interfering with his work. One rainy Thursday evening, he saw her slip out the back exit after hours. She didn't take a taxi or head to the subway like most employees. Instead, she walked head down, no umbrella, holding a thin bag to her chest. Ethan hesitated only a moment before following her. He stayed in his car, driving slowly at a distance. Watching what started as curiosity now felt like something else. She was more than a mystery, she was a silence he suddenly needed to understand. Cora's path led him away from the city lights, into older, forgotten streets. She turned corners confidently, as if this was a routine. Ethan parked discreetly and followed on foot, heart pounding with something unfamiliar. She stopped in front of an abandoned warehouse. The paint was peeling, the windows broken, yet she entered it without hesitation. Ethan waited for 5 long minutes, then followed her inside. The inside was nothing like he expected. Dozens of small mattresses covered the floor, surrounded by blankets and faded stuffed animals. Children's laughter echoed faintly through the building. A group of kids ran toward Cora, hugging her legs, calling her name, Miss Cora. Miss Cora, one shouted, clutching a toy car. Ethan stood frozen in the shadows, watching her smile genuinely. Freely for the first time, she knelt beside the children, pulling out a bag of sandwiches and art supplies. "Today we're going to paint dreams," she said softly. The kids clapped, forgetting the cold walls and broken floors around them. Ethan's chest tightened. This wasn't a job. It was something she chose to do alone secretly, after long work days. He didn't move for nearly an hour, just watched her give the love she never showed at the office. And something inside him cracked. Later that night, back in his penthouse, Ethan couldn't sleep. His city skyline felt hollow, silent, dead. All he could see was the joy on those children's faces, and the pain behind Cora's smile. He began searching records, quietly. The building wasn't registered to any organization, no official charity. It was all off the books. She was funding it herself. The next day, he tried to talk to her. He asked how her evening was, and she dropped the pen in her hand. "Fine," she said, her voice trembling. But she didn't look at him and she left early. Ethan realized she was scared, not of him, of being seen. He couldn't let her know he had followed her, not yet. But he had to help, he just didn't know how. Over the next few days, he began discreetly sending supplies to the warehouse, new blankets, food, toys never signed. Cora was cautious at first, but accepted them with suspicion. She asked the kids if anyone new had come by. When they all said no, she let it go. Ethan visited the area in secret each night, making sure no one else was watching her. Something primal had awakened in him, a need to protect her. Then one night, he saw a man standing too close to the building, lurking in the shadows. The man had a bottle in his hand and anger in his steps. Ethan got out of his car without thinking. He confronted the man, who yelled something slurred and bitter about Cora saving kids who aren't even hers. Ethan didn't ask questions. He punched him once hard, just enough to make him leave. Then he stood guard until the lights inside the warehouse went out. The next morning, Cora arrived at work with a bruise on her wrist. Ethan noticed it immediately, but she wore her sleeve pulled down and avoided his gaze. During lunch, he watched her from the corner of his eye as she typed nervously, checking her phone every few minutes. He wanted to confront her, to tell her everything, but he feared she would retreat even further. Instead, he sent her a note through interoffice mail. "You are not alone. Whoever hurt you won't touch you again." She found it during a meeting, and he watched as her eyes widened in shock. But she said nothing. She simply folded the note, held it tightly, and tucked it into her coat pocket. That night, she didn't go to the warehouse. Ethan circled the block several times, waiting, but she never appeared. The next day, she didn't come to work either. He grew restless, called in sick, and started checking every hospital and shelter in the area. It wasn't until the 3rd evening that he saw her walking slowly, her eyes tired, her lip cut. She was carrying a first aid kit and a bag of bread. Ethan parked and stepped into her path. "Don't be afraid," he said. She froze. Her eyes met his for the first time, and he saw it. The fear, the exhaustion, the quiet strength she fought to keep. "Why are you following me?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Because I saw what you do," he replied, "and Bunny, I couldn't unsee it." She looked away, gripping the bag tightly. I didn't ask for your help. I know, he said gently, but I'm offering it anyway. She shook her head. They'll take the kids if they find out. I'm not a legal shelter. I'm just trying to keep them warm. Ethan's throat tightened. Then let me help you do it right. She refused at first, too afraid of being exposed, of bringing in people who only wanted to fix her project with cold hands and corporate smiles. But Ethan wasn't offering a corporation. He offered silence, protection, resources, without press. Just let me be your shadow, he said one night as they shared tea in the back room of the warehouse. Cora stared at him for a long time before saying, I don't know how to trust people like you. And he replied, then let me earn it one night at a time. Slowly, she let him in, not into her heart but into the walls she had built around her mission. He helped fix the pipes, paint the walls, build stronger beds for the kids. He never brought a photographer, never asked for his name to be on anything. The children began to call him Mr. E, the quiet man who always brought tools and listened to their stories. And every night, Cora grew more at ease. Still guarded, still silent, but not alone. One evening, after putting the kids to sleep, they sat outside on the steps. The moonlight cast soft shadows over her face. Why do you care so much? She asked him. Because I've built towers, he said. But what you're doing, this is a life. Cora looked down. My parents ran a shelter before they died. I was only 16. The system failed me. I made a promise I'd never let it fail anyone else if I could help it. Ethan reached for her hand, but didn't take it, just hovered near. Then, let me help you keep that promise. The next month, they created a hidden fund, using Ethan's name as a silent guarantor. He bought the building under a different company, quietly legalizing it while keeping Cora's role hidden. They brought in a social worker one from an agency, but someone Cora trusted from her past. For the first time, she allowed herself to exhale. She still worked at the firm during the day, still lived modestly, still wore cardigans and avoided eye contact. But she wasn't carrying it all alone anymore. Ethan began to fall harder than he ever expected. It wasn't her smile that did it, or the way she touched the children's faces with gentleness. It was her resilience, her silence, her bravery. He had known so many women who chased power, recognition, luxury, but Cora chased light only so she could give it to others. One night, when they were cleaning up spilled paint, he looked at her and whispered, "You are the most powerful person I've ever met." She looked away, blushing. "I'm just trying not to break." "Then let me be the one who helps you hold it together," he said. Rumors at the office began to swirl. Ethan had grown distant from board meetings, always vanishing after dark. One executive joked he was probably dating an heiress, but Ethan didn't care. His empire no longer felt like it defined him. Cora had given him a new mission, one that made the millions seem small. He even considered stepping down from the firm. But first, he wanted to tell her how he felt. He just didn't know how or if she'd be able to hear it. Then, one night, the warehouse was broken into. Ethan got the call from one of the older kids. He arrived before the police. Cora was inside, holding a crying girl, blood on her sleeve. "They tried to take her," she said, voice shaking. Ethan knelt beside her, eyes wide. "She's okay, but I'm not." She looked at him, truly looked. "You said you wanted to help? Then don't leave me now." After the break-in, Ethan took no more chances. He moved Cora and the children to a temporary safe house he owned under another name. The police investigated but found no suspects. The motive remained unclear. Cora stopped going to work. Her face was pale, her hands restless, and her voice quieter than ever. Ethan stayed by her side, sleeping on a couch outside the kids' room, refusing to leave unless she asked. But she never did. "I didn't think anyone would ever fight this hard to keep us safe," she whispered one night. He answered, "I didn't think anyone would ever make me care about something real." In the days that followed, the children adapted quickly, but Cora didn't. She walked the halls like a ghost, afraid it would all be taken from her again. Ethan noticed every small shift in her, how she bit her lip, how she avoided looking out the window, how she flinched at every sudden sound. He began taking long walks with her after sunset, just the two of them, in silence. One evening, she finally spoke. "I was hurt once, really badly. I never talk about it, but I think I want to. With you?" He only said one word. "Whenever you're ready." That night, she told him everything. About the man who had once volunteered at her parents' shelter and took advantage of her trust. How the system ignored her cries. How she'd run, rebuilt, hidden her pain in helping others. "I survived," she said, "but I never healed." Ethan held her gently as she cried. No judgment, no questions, only stillness. In that quiet, something inside her began to unfreeze, and for the first time, she let him hold her hand, fingers trembling but not pulling away. Weeks passed. With Ethan's help, Cora found a new building, larger, safer, and fully legal. She didn't want her name on anything, but he insisted, "This is yours. You earned it." Together, they designed a new space. Warm lights, strong locks, walls covered in murals the kids helped paint. It wasn't just a shelter, it was a home. And while Ethan still signed checks and coordinated discreet permits, he never took credit. "I don't want a plaque," he joked. "I just want to stand next to you." One rainy morning, she made him breakfast, something she'd never done before. She smiled shyly as she handed him the plate. "You always take care of me. I wanted to take care of you too." He stared at her, overwhelmed. This wasn't a romantic gesture. It was something deeper. The shy girl who never looked him in the eye now watched him as if she finally saw him for who he really was, and in that moment, Ethan knew. He loved her, not with obsession or pity, but with awe. That night, he told her, not in some grand speech or flashy gesture, just 3 simple words: "I love you." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she touched his face, her fingers tracing the scar near his temple. "You followed me," she said softly. "You saw the part of me no one's ever wanted." He leaned into her touch. "It's the part that saved me." And with tears in her eyes, she whispered, "Then, I think, I love you too." From that day forward, things changed. Their bond deep and quiet, but unshakable. They still spent every day building, cleaning, feeding, organizing. But now, there were stolen kisses in the hallway, laughter behind office doors, and late-night conversations under blankets as the children slept. Love didn't make the pain disappear, but it gave it somewhere to rest. And Cora, once a ghost in the world, became something else entirely. Light. The old office called Ethan back, offering him a return to the board, even more power. He declined politely. "I have a better job now," he said. "I fix roofs and carry juice boxes." When reporters asked about his sudden disappearance from the corporate world, he said only, "Sometimes, when you follow someone out of curiosity, you find a better version of yourself." And he meant it. Every word. Months later, they hosted a small event at the shelter's opening. No cameras, just friends, community, and the children who called them family. Cora gave a short speech, her voice steady for the first time in years. "This place was built on pain," she said, "but it stands because someone chose to see me, to believe in me when I didn't believe in myself." Ethan watched her speak, more proud than he had ever been in a boardroom. She was no longer the shy girl. She was a survivor, a leader, a miracle. That night, they walked home together, fingers laced. The moon was full, and the air smelled like rain. "Do you ever regret following me that night?" she asked. He smiled. "Every empire I ever built meant nothing compared to what I found when I followed you." She leaned against him, eyes full of quiet joy. "Then maybe I'll let you follow me for the rest of our lives." And he whispered, "Lead the way."